Hello guys, welcome back to Not Just Mecha, it's Marco here, and today we talk about spray cans. In this video I'll show you the best spray cans for miniatures and terrains, how to obtain the maximum when spraying, and a couple of big juicy secrets that will completely change the way in which you think about them. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell button to always know what happens on the channel. Spray cans are one of my favorite tools next to oil paints and the airbrush. What they have in common is the fact of being tools and materials that belong more to other arts and crafts. And in the brief history of our miniature medium, we just scratched the surface of what we can do with them. I have a good experience with spray cans used in the most different applications, situations and surfaces, and I can assure you they are not created equal. I divide them in three macro categories. The super cheap cans from supermarkets and dollar stores. Stay away from that stuff, it will only hurt your feelings. Every single component of the can is not built for quality. Their paint is not made to last and, ironically, is not made for painting. Second category, hardware store spray cans. Their price is slightly higher. They are slightly better, with better components and with paint that's more resistant and with a better light fastness. But they are made for a totally different kind of works. They are often enamel-based or chip lacquers, so they dry slowly, remaining a bit sticky on the surface for days, and they tend to be extremely glossy. There's nothing intrinsically wrong with these cans, and you can find an application in cheap works on terrains, for example, but in general they are not the right tool for miniatures. If you need to hit a nail, you want an hammer, not a screwdriver. A little note. I put hobby spray cans from brands like GW, Army Painter and Tamiya in this second category, and in this order. They are for sure in the top ranks of this list, with some features that make them interesting for miniatures, mostly the range of tones that is specifically made to match their acrylic paints, but their price point is completely, absolutely crazy for what you get. Third category, art store and graffiti art spray cans. This is where things become really interesting. One of these interesting things is that their price point is almost the same than hardware store cans, but they are specifically made for painting, so you can buy 2 or 3 of these super high quality Artis cans with the money of a GW or an Army Painter's bottle. There's an entire universe of brands, categories and subcategories, but they share the same general high quality, focused on proper artistic painting. There's incredible stuff out there. Just a single company like Molotow, for example, has products for filling, for outlines, transparent colors, water-based acrylic spray cans that are 100% compatible with our usual paints. Spray cans of fine art acrylics that can be spread and brushed after they are sprayed, and even chalk spray. A spray can that can shoot chalk for temporary artworks. Only talking about this stuff makes my hands itchy. For me the best thing is that, like any other proper art tool, they clearly state and explain on the bottle their specific features and uses. Again, if you need to hit a nail, you want an hammer, not a mysterious random tool. In general, I suggest you to buy locally, so you can save on the shipping cost and find a balance between what you like and what you have in your area. But in our kind of works, if you stay in this kind of macro category, you can't really go wrong. For this reason, I use a lot of Montana cans, even if at this moment my gold standard is the Molotow fine art line. These kind of sprays are usually matte, incredibly vibrant and saturated, with a crazy covering power, the ability to stick with an extreme strength to any possible surface. They are obviously extremely tough in the long term because, they have to live outside for a long time, and a superb resistance to light. But one of their best features is that they can have different levels of pressure. Cheap cans shoot with a very high pressure, but when you paint, you want a bit more control. Here, for example, I have 2 lines by Montana. The black one has a higher pressure and the gold one shoots with a lower pressure. A spray can, depending on its type and level of usage, works usually between 40 and 60 psi. This is a big deal, and to let you understand, I spray with my airbrush at 40 psi. Can you see where this is going? A spray can is not so different from a single action airbrush. Pushing on the cap you regulate the pressure, and even the range of movement is similar to the one of the airbrush trigger. Plus, now you know that you can modulate the pressure even more choosing the right can. Good, but not enough. So, here is the big secret that will make your spray cans work like a true double action airbrush. This is the kind of stuff that everyone knows except for miniature painters. The trick for the ultimate control is in the caps. Yes, plural. Every brand has its own and they cost almost nothing. These are all Montana caps and you can buy every single one of them for just a few cents. I really tried to find a legal wall to show you this stuff on a more interesting canvas, but sadly I didn't have luck. There are caps for thin lines, super thin lines, every possible size of lines, from a few millimeters to 20-30 centimeters. You can easily switch between a super precise straight to several different sizes of faded borders, to a fine mist effect. If you can imagine a type of spray, there's a cap that can produce it. Now you have high quality paint with all the best features. A fine control over pressure and a fine control over the size, shape and behavior of the cone of paint. And these are the features of an airbrush. But why should you consider spray cans even if you have an airbrush? I'll show you why with few examples. Before using your cans, put them inside warm water. It doesn't have to be hot, just warm. This will help mixing better the components when you start shaking. This trick is extremely useful for our need for smoothness in small and precise applications. They are obviously amazing for terrains. I use a large and soft fat cap for priming. This is able to cover a radius of more than 20 centimeters, so priming this big building becomes a matter of seconds and without the risk of overflowing the surface with too much paint, with a beam that is too small and focalized, but still carrying a huge amount of paint. Plus, basic physics. The need of covering this large radius divides the pressure over a larger area, making the process easier to control. To paint ruins and buildings, I like to introduce a lot of textures and randomness. To do this, I switch to skinny caps that are made for fine lines and small details. These would normally lead to a very precise line, shot very close to the target, but I increase the distance, so that the small radius, the controlled pressure and the concentrated beam will produce a lot of little dots and droplets that will simulate the random texture of stone. And I can obviously use the same cap for its original purpose, for a super close and precise application without the need of masking, for example. As you can see, I'm not too afraid about environmental humidity. If you spray with close and control bursts, you can easily work on a balcony in a rainy day. What really makes a huge difference is temperature. If it's too hot, the micro droplets of paint can dry in the brief path between the can and the model, creating an ugly sand texture. And if it's too cold, this will mess with the pressure and the coherency of the beam. It can seem counterintuitive, but if I'm working on miniatures, I switch to fat caps that, depending on the subtype, can cover a range between 4 and 20 centimeters. With fat caps, it's easier to produce a smooth finish without staying too close to the model, so I have more physical space to modulate the beam with the distance. Exactly like I do with the airbrush. I like in particular the New York fat cap, a super classic and versatile cap, because it's quite focused but with soft faded edges, and we really want those soft transitions. When using paints with an high covering power, you have to consider that the last layer will be the dominant one, so a good order of operations is everything. For example, if you want to put the accent on shadows, spray them in the last step. Here I want iconic, old-style Space Marines with a simple modulation. I use 2 intuitive tones for the Ultramarine and Blood Angel, and a progression of 3 colors on the Imperial Fists, just because I have at home the 3 perfect tones to layer. So, here's the second main reason to use spray cans. I have literally hundreds of paints, but none of them can create this kind of super vibrant, saturated tones with a single, immediate, super quick application. Look to these colors. They are incredible. And look to this modulation. Even in its extreme simplicity, you can clearly see the illusion of volume. And it's obviously more complex where I used 3 tones. If you need this kind of colors on an entire army, well, you can see my point. So guys, I think this stuff will keep you busy doing experiments for a while, but as you can imagine, there's an entire universe behind this medium, and what I showed today is the most basic tip of the iceberg. If you like this topic and you want to see different specific applications, we can make this into a proper series. Let me know in the comments your doubts and questions, and where and how you want to see this stuff applied. If you like this video, give it a like and subscribe. Remember that you can ask me anything down below with a comment, and you can follow my projects during the week using one of my socials. And if you want to support the channel and my work, check my Patreon page and join the community, or maybe ask for a commission. See you next week, guys!